Star Wars was huge. It had become a cultural phenomenon, so there was no way a sequel wouldn't be made. George Lucas decided that for this film he would go independent. He funded the film himself through loans and also through the money he made from the original movie. Because he was busy overseeing the special effects and also financing the film, he stepped away as the director of the film. He also didn't write the movie either. He came up with the story and then handed the writing duties to Leigh Brackett and Lawrence Kasdan. George Lucas decided to make the Star Wars movie a trilogy. Not only that, he also decided that this would be the 5th movie in the series and that there would be 3 prequels made after Return of the Jedi. And we all know how well that went. The film was released in 1980 and received mixed reviews at first. However, in the years since, it has not only received acclaim, it has also been considered by nearly everyone to be the best in the series. The film starts with Princess Leia leading a contingent in a new base on the planet Hoth. Darth Vader sends probe droids across the galaxy to find the new base. While investigating a potential meteor strike, Luke finds himself attacked and captured by a Wampa. He manages to escape but soon collapses due to the cold temperatures. He sees the spirit of Obi-Wan, who tells him to go to the Dagobah system to finish his training with Jedi Master Yoda. Han finds him and takes him back to the base to recover. Han and Chewbacca discover that the asteroid was actually one of the probe droids which alerts the Empire of their location. They then launch a full-scale attack. They send large AT-AT walkers to capture the base in probably one of the most memorable action scenes in the series. Han, Leia, C-3PO and Chewbacca escape in the Millennium Falcon while Luke and R2-D2 escape in his X-Wing so he can go to Dagobah. Darth Vader then hires a group of bounty hunters including Boba Fett to go after them and find the Millennium Falcon. Luke meets an old creature who seems at first to be insane. The creature promises to take him to Yoda, but it is later revealed that he is in fact Yoda. Yoda reluctantly agrees to train Luke. I really like the training scenes. In fact, I think my biggest problem with this film is that there aren't enough training scenes in it. Like, we get that amazing scene where Luke fights a fake Darth Vader and when he decapitates him he sees his own face. That scene has always given me chills. Han decides that he needs to get help from an old friend called Lando Calrissian. So they go to Cloud City to meet him, but Lando betrays them and hands them over to Darth Vader. He decides to use the group as bait to lure Luke to them, which works because Luke has a premonition of them in pain. Darth Vader intends on freezing Luke in carbonite, but since they want to keep him alive and they need to test it on someone first, they freeze Han inside of it. Darth Vader hands Han over to Boba Fett, who was also hired to hand him over to Jabba the Hutt. Lando tells Leia that he was forced to betray them and helps them escape. Luke gets to Cloud City and then fights Darth Vader in easily one of the best lightsaber fights in the entire series. In fact, I think there is only one that tops it, and that is their fight in Return of the Jedi. Darth Vader cuts off Luke's hand. Luke stands on the edge of an air shaft as Darth Vader tries to convince him to join the dark side. He then tells him that he is his real father. Luke then jumps down the air shaft. Luckily, he lands into a hole in the wall and is ejected out the city and hangs there. He uses a telepathic plea to call for Leia to save him, which she does. They turn the Millennium Falcon around and pick him back up. Luke is fitted with a robotic hand and then they all set out to find Jabba the Hutt and save Han. And that's Empire. I think the reason why a lot of people were put off this film when it was released was because of how dark the film actually was. The film was supposed to be the middle section of the trilogy, and it definitely did that well. The previous movie ended with everything going well. They blow up the Death Star and it looks like they've defeated the Empire. But this film ends with all hope being lost. It doesn't have a happy ending. Luke loses his hand, finds out his father is the person who they are fighting, and also Han Solo is lost. The Empire haven't been stopped, in fact they basically win in this movie. And that's honestly what makes this film so good in my opinion. Ending the film like this leaves you in complete shock and leaves you wanting the next movie. They execute that really well. Everything that the previous film did well, this film does better. The film is much more exciting, the effects are better, the acting is much better, and also the story is much more interesting. I find myself getting more involved into this movie, and by the end you are left with so many questions. In this movie, they first show the Emperor, the person at the head of the Empire. His appearance in this film is very different than in the 6th movie and also the prequels. Honestly, I don't think his look in this film is very good. He looks much better in the 6th movie, and I actually like the fact that in the special editions they fixed him. But still, he is very mysterious in this movie. Because you only see him in one scene and you don't see him in person, you're really left wondering who this mysterious villain is. There is also a scene where you see Darth Vader from the back with his mask off. This is also a really interesting scene. Before we thought he was just a man in a suit who breathes really heavily, but seeing the back of his head looking damaged intrigues you. What happened to him to make him like that? And of course, the twist where it turns out that he is Anakin Skywalker asked many questions too. How did he go from being a Jedi to being the most feared man in the galaxy? Of course, it sets up that we'll have these questions answered in the 6th movie, but also it sets up the prequels. Maybe doing that isn't too good, but I still think it was a great addition. This movie is much more emotionally involving, and I mean in many different ways, not just by revealing Darth Vader's identity. We also have the scenes of Han and Leia falling in love. This helps you relate more to the characters and as a whole makes you more emotionally invested in them. And the fact that this film does not have a happy ending, in fact it has quite a sad ending, really helps this emotional edge hit more. The action scenes in this movie are much larger and more exciting too. The 80-80 scene is fantastic. The effects here still really hold up today. The use of stop motion actually really blends in with the live action well, something that other films don't do as good. The script is much better, not just the dialogue but just the way the film is written. The dialogue feels much more realistic and less cheesy, and the huge improvement in the acting really makes everything feel much more real. It really helps you get more immersed into the film. I honestly don't know what else I can say about this movie. This is easily my favourite in the franchise, but pretty much everything that made the previous movie good is what makes this movie good. It's just this film did it all much better, so there's not much else I can say without sounding really repetitive. This is a great movie. It's exciting, dark and emotionally gripping. I give The Empire Strikes Back a 10 out of 10.